The was very polite. They were very nice, but made it very clear that they were done with providing lifeguards for Shorewood. We talked about a number of other options on the short term. I still have a meeting that I was able to schedule this Wednesday with the school superintendent, Mr. Davis, and I want to meet with him and talk about this a little bit. But at this late date, with the pool or the beach, open now, but our kind of official midsummer opening is only about 4 weeks away. The likelihood that we could get lifeguards, many of them would need to be certified. We'd also have to find a qualified supervisor that could be on the beach on a regular basis to supervise the staff. We think that's probably unlikely for this year. I asked Tyler to add this to the agenda for tonight, but I felt it very important to make sure that we had a discussion with the village board, and also through this mechanism made the community aware that we were having this problem and this was ongoing. We certainly don't want parents sending their children down to the beach in mid-June, assuming that the city or the village will have lifeguards staffing it. While we're continuing to communicate, and we again have a meeting with the school district, it's most likely that we will not be able to acquire lifeguard services for this season. As you know, in the past, the village has provided this as a relatively limited service. It ran only 2 months in duration and for 5 hours a day, which of course do cover the peak times. And other than that, evenings, mornings, and after mid-August, when the water is really warming up, the rest of the season, the weekends and stuff are all swim at your own risk. So what we're suggesting to the trustees, if you would concur, would be to go swim at your own risk at the beach this year. Obviously, that would be accompanied by a significant public relations, public information program, posting of signs, etc. Make sure everyone in the community is aware of it. Number two, we would suggest that we hire a private security service to provide a full-time security staff person, I'll call them. I don't know if there's much down there to guard, but a staff person down at the beach to make sure that the rules and regulations regarding the use of the beach are adhered to, and to make sure there's no rowdy behavior or any kind of fighting or anything going on between the kids that are patronizing the beach. We think that would be an important interim step. It's not a lifeguard, but it's the next best thing. And also we feel that having the lifeguards down there is not a great expense to the village. We think it's a great amenity, particularly for parents in the community to feel comfortable. They can send their children down there during the summer and there's lifeguards present. So we're suggesting that this not be dropped and that we do follow up. Probably your permanent manager later in the fall is going to have to get busy and find a partner so that you would have lifeguards down there for not only next year but subsequent seasons as well. If you have any specific questions about some of the timeline or background material, Tyler is here, but the hour is late. We would like to just get a little feedback tonight, and if this seems like a reasonable approach to dealing with the problem, at least for this one season, we'll get started and hopefully be able to come back to you at the first meeting in June with a security agreement which you can adopt at that time.
Do you have an idea what a possible consideration would be? What a motion this evening?
Well, if the trustees want to wait, let us have the meeting with the school superintendent. If I could just get some verbal feedback, then we would have that meeting. If that's not productive, we'll get started, get a quickie RFP together, we'll get some quotes from local security firms. We'll bring that back on your agenda for the June 5th or 6th meeting, and then the trustees can act on that. Would be an actual policy item you can act on. But I think what we want to hear tonight, if there's anybody that's got a real problem with this, and you want us to try to do something extraordinary to see if we could find lifeguards somewhere in the next 4 weeks. We really want to know about it because it's going to be really too late at the June 5th meeting. Mr. President.
Yes.
Just two questions. I think you're right on par. I have no problem with that. I think if we communicate effectively, I don't know if it's through the school district who can reach more parents that have kids that might be sending their kids down, or maybe we meet with the school representative that mentioned that we're going to need a coordinated communication effort. And who would the staff person, the contracted person for security, where would they reside and who do they report to? Is it the chief?
Probably the manager's office. I think we'll oversee that during the summer. There would be one person down there. It might not be the same person, obviously, all 7 days of the week. But the plan would be to have a person down there, probably some kind of a quasi-uniform, certainly something to identify that individual as being an authority. And again, they would be there to enforce the beach rules, make sure there's no rowdy behavior. And they would have instant communication with the police department, so if anything gets started, they would contact the police immediately. So I think we want to have a police officer down there, if they're going to intervene or mix it up with the kids or something, we would want one of our sworn officers to handle that. So their main job will be communicating and supervising the area, make sure nothing inappropriate is going on.
Okay.
Tyler, I never thought to ask, but what about Whitefish Bay? Who do they get their lifeguards from?
It's Cody Park, that's a county park.
Oh, my bad. That's, all right.
And we've talked through all the locations, there's
Yeah.
nobody around here. I
Right.
think the next beach, the
That
next,
Big Bay Park, I think that's Whitefish Bay, but I
They
don't
don't
think
have
that
a-
lifeguard.
Yeah.
yeah, the
that's
next
swimming around.
closest municipal beach is swim at your own risk. And there's a couple, one of the, was it Fox Point, that has a municipal pool, but those lifeguards wouldn't probably aren't certified
Right.
for the beach function, so.
Yeah, I'm confident that I'm not going to come up with some source for lifeguards that you have. I just was curious about that because I forgot that
Yeah.
Cody was county park. I guess, so communications wise, I would, whatever we end up with, or maybe sooner rather than later, maybe a press release.
Yeah.
Because if the lifeguard shortage, there's kind of a story there, you know what I mean? Just,
Yeah.
We would be using all communication tools, and it's school district, especially knowing that who's the audience that likes to use it during the summer. So, you know, I'd be reaching out to Caitlin right away as far as working on or helping them to help us get the word out as well. But we would, do a press release, and do in the paper as well, and any media.
Does anybody
channels.
remember how long we've had the county lifeguards? It's not been that long.
right, it hasn't been that
I don't think it's been 10.
Close to 5 years,
I would say
5, 6
5
years
or
was
7
my
years,
best
I
guess.
Okay. And prior to that time,
It was Shorewood Recreation before.
well, it was nobody before.
Yeah.
Shorewood Recreation did it, it might have not been directly
Are you
before,
talking about
but
having lifeguards?
yeah, about
We
a
went
decade.
years without any lifeguards.
A decade ago, Deb Stolz told me that Shorewood Recreation did it for a short time.
Okay.
You know, we had a background on that.
Okay.
My only concern about the security is that the appearance is much different than, you know, if it's a uniformed security officer, that it's a much different feel than having a lifeguard.
I know.
And I also don't want to, I also don't know how much of the lifeguard's time was really spent on sort of management issues on the beach rather than water safety. And so I don't want to anticipate that there's more of an issue there than, you know, has historically been there. But I know it's definitely different.
The
but
perception's gonna mean a lot here.
Right, and
Security on
I'm
there.
concerned, I mean, I don't want to be in a position where we're making, you know, I really want to have the data as far as what we would actually be needing.
Well, what we were contemplating, because they have a private security officer, but an individual with people skills that could talk and develop some rapport. Probably 80+% of the patrons are going to be young people, teenagers, even younger children on the beach. And we would need someone that could talk to them. And again, we don't, other than, you know, some light verbal admonishments, we wouldn't want them doing anything else. And they would call the police immediately if they suspect that there's a crime in progress or that somebody is, you know, some fight, kids are getting into a fight or something, they contact the police department and have one of our sworn officers handle that. But I do think it's a nice fallback for parents to know that there's going to be an adult supervisor on that beach. The rules are going to be enforced and no one's going to be picking on their kid. There's somebody there that can intervene, can jump on the radio and contact the police. So
Is
that was what we were looking for.
Is that what lifeguards have to, I think that's your
That's what
question
I'm-
is like,
how many
do they
times a
really,
week?
do they do that?
The lifeguards do that stuff all the time. I've been a beach patron all my adult life, and they spend way more time doing that than they do actually out in the water effectuating their life saving. So that's mostly what they do, is keep the kids under control and monitor some of the beach activities.
So did the county say that this was just this year, or like that we're cut off for the future?
They certainly left us with a very strong impression that they were done,
They're done.
period. And they really didn't want to leave much of a door open and say we won't go back. We can always go back and communicate again and ask.
Yeah,
Tyler,
if they were able to be able to recruit more lifeguards a lot easier, it's something that they would want to. I mean, this is a partnership they've enjoyed doing. It's just gotten to the point that they're having such a hard time recruiting lifeguards that they don't want to overcommit their public swim amenities. And so that's really the issue that we raised with them is, if this is becoming a larger and larger issue for you, can you really, feel comfortable providing lifeguards to Shorewood moving forward? And that was, of course, very difficult for them.
Just a little background material, the Shorewood typically lost the lifeguards in mid-August, probably 2 weeks earlier than the county beaches, like Bradford Beach lost their lifeguards. And it's because the kids start going back to college, and as they start going back to college, there's fewer people, so then the county, just has them work in Bradford Beach and the other places. So that's why we lost them a couple weeks early.
And the security guard, will that be the 5 hours a day or more hours per day?
We were envisioning the 5, and 7 days would be pretty much the same hours when we have the lifeguard. So again, it'll still be open at your own risk with no one, later in the evenings and during the morning hours. But most beachgoers, 10:30, 11ish, they're interested in getting there. If you're there at 4 o'clock, you're going to be a straggler. Most people are gone by then. So it is peak hours.
But it would be important to say, swim at your own risk.
Yes, the signs will be up. Oh, yes, there will not be lifeguards this season.
Right.
So even with the guard, there'll still be signs up, swim at your own risk.
And I wonder if we can talk to the rec services division about having a lifeguarding course next winter with a guarantee of employment or,
Sure.
I don't know, because the county would hire them, not us, but I mean, if we can, and the other thing to say to the county is, if you're not getting people, you need to raise the wages.
We had that very discussion.
gotta do
She
something.
told us there's $15 an hour for lifeguards during the summer. When I was a kid, these were jobs, people would almost do for free. It's considered to be the greatest summer job. Apparently, a lot of the kids have moved on. There's a lot of other opportunities. And a lot of them are doing internships or career-oriented things during the summer. So they're kind of building their resume, preparing for graduation. So, we had that validated by the school system. So they, must be having a problem getting that particular skill set in this area. So.
I also wonder about it's not, the Shorewood Rec Department uses the beach in the summer for their kids club programming, so they're gonna be swimming at their own risk too. They can't bring their own lifeguard, right? Well, we can't close the beach.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, you can't really close the beach because people are going to go in no matter what. I think if you post it, and it was Tyler's idea to do the security guard. I thought that was a great little middle ground because the parents will still know if they send their kids over there that there is adult supervision. There won't be lifeguard, but there is adult supervision on the beach. I think that's a decent compromise for this season. I think we're good.
You've got your
Yeah, got some marching orders.
marching orders.
We'll be back the first meeting in June with a security agreement.
Okay,
And if something does happen in my meeting with the school superintendent, I'll email everybody
Okay,
right away and let you know. But
yeah.
I tried to get in to see him last week, he was out of town, and, you know, we've already talked to their staff, so it's not like this is a high probability inquiry, but we gotta do it.
Thanks for your help, and thank you, Tyler. Okay, moving on to reports from village officials. I've got a couple, actually I got a third one. I think most of you know about the Prudential Spirit of Community Awards that were announced just recently. And this is a national thing, and 102 young people from around the country, 2 per state in Washington DC, got these awards. And one of the awards from Wisconsin was Katie Eater. And not only did she get one of the 102 awards, but then they selected from those 102 people, 10 people to get an additional award, a gold medallion award, which she was one of those 10 too. So that's great. Her mom, by the way, is Laura Praccio, who's a new member of